Greetings, NFL fans. Welcome back to another installment of Inside the Five, a UK NFL podcast. We are your hosts, Dan,
Nathan,
and Nima.
Yes, got it right the second time. Love it. Okay, so it has been a hectic couple of weeks for the NFL. I think that's fair to say. And certainly this week, last 24 hours, oh man, it's been crazy. And I'm feeling a lot of emotions. I'm feeling a lot of things,
especially off the pitch.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's plenty to be getting into with that there. We're going to try and streamline the show a little bit today. You know, not cut it down by too much, but we're trying to be conscious of all the commuters out there trying to get from A to B in sort of 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to try and aim to nail that for you.
Please, y'all.
Should we get started, boys? Are we ready to go?
Yes.
All right, cool. So, before we get stuck into all the drama that's kicked off in the last couple of weeks, we obviously, between the last episode that we did and the episode that we're recording right now, we have attended an actual NFL game, and we did an episode about that, special about that, and I thought it would be nice to sort of quickly touch on that, how that was for us, and give a few shout-outs to some special people that we met while we were there. So, who wants to kick us off? How did it feel? The game, main memories from that? Highlights of being at an NFL game?
It was great. It was I don't know. We'd all just were. Everyone. It felt like waking up on Christmas.
The atmosphere was electric at the house before we even left.
Yeah, we went to the Beehive and met up with everyone. It was obviously absolutely rammed.
The Beehive
so
was so good.
We weren't able to get any pints because we
so busy.
Sillily is that a word?
Stupidly.
Sillily.
It's now a word.
Yeah.
Decided that we were going to get pints there, but. You know, it was fine though. It was good. It was just good to be around.
Dolphins
also, in our defense, in defense of the Beehive, we did get there quite late. Do you know what I mean? Like we actually tweeted. I think I tweeted being like, "Where's everyone going for this thing?" And the someone who was at the Beehive tweeted they were going to be there. That's why I ended up picking that the night before or whatever, because it was like they told us to be there. So. Yeah, but they tweeted me at like 8 a.m, being like, "Oh, you know, this is where we're going to be," and it was like already busy, and then we didn't get there for like another 2 hours.
God.
So the
Great
chances
pub,
of us getting a drink, fantastic pub, like it's so good, and it's for an NFL day, you know, like even like post game, having all the games on there, like the atmosphere was just. Actually, that'll segue into what the thing I enjoyed the most was just is what I knew it was going to be is that like NFL fans are just really, really great people 9 out of 10 times. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, you know, it was. Walking past people in, you know, Green Bay shirts and, you know, chatting about, you know, like going like shout and go pack go, and everybody who had a shirt on or memorabilia like got reached out to by a complete stranger who was there.
I
and
saw
it was
plenty of action green.
I definitely hugged a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, you did. Of course you did. He's, you know, Cowboy fans should be elated right now. I'm sure this is happening.
COVID safe.
Yeah, we were COVID safe.
So yeah, that was great. It also happened to be a great game. I thought that was fantastic. You know, Trevor Lawrence, we got to see his first career win
as a rookie.
You know what I mean? Like who knows?
As an NFL player.
Yeah. Who knows what his career is going to be? Like that win could potentially get more and more special the more that his career goes on, which is great. I thought Tua played really well.
Yeah.
Considering that it was his first game back, and I thought he was unlucky. It wasn't really his fault that they lost that game.
No.
And then obviously there was Cupgate as well. Do you remember the whole drama with that?
Oh yeah.
It was really strange because it was happening near us. Like,
I feel
it was
like
happening
it was
sort of like down like the bottom towards like I don't know. It was really strange. We were just watching all these cups fly, and
we thought it was a joke. Like Sports Bible or something said it was something like a protest against a decision. I don't think it was. It
was a miscommunication. I think that because people got really upset about it, and like Neil Reynolds, you know, the Sky News presenter, he tweeted out sort of, you know, really, really annoyed about that, and I felt for the fact that his family had to leave and all that stuff, and that sucks. But from what I read on social media, and obviously I don't know this for 100%, social media isn't always fact, but from what I gathered, what started that Cupgate issue was a couple of guys trying to recreate a college football tradition, which is where they create a snake out of all the empty beer cups that you get in the stands, and you try and make it as tall as you can, and the crowd and the fans get engaged with it. The problem is that in American sports, when you can drink in bars, the cups that you throw down are like lightweight. They're sort of like, they're not necessarily red cups, but it's like they're closer to that material weight and sort of texture than they are to what they had at the Tottenham Stadium, which was hard plastic beer cups, reusable beer cups, where it's like, people, 80,000 people start lacing them. It's like, no wonder people started getting, cuts in the back of their heads and leaving for the fear of their own safety. Like, it was a nice gesture that, yes, fine, a few people ruined, but they didn't ruin it consciously. They didn't go, let's make this a problem. They saw someone engaging with it. It was an accident. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think just to clear anybody who felt bad about that, like, it didn't pan out great, but their heart was in the right place. Yeah, and I want to make that perfectly clear. The final thing I want to do on this sort of game atmosphere stuff before we move on is we posted on Twitter asking about anybody else's experiences from the game. We were a group of, young gentlemen, young NFL fans. Youngish.
Distinguished gentlemen.
And our experience was, was one of connecting with friends and seeing people.
I didn't feel young the day after.
No, God, no. But
I was a dead man walking by 6 p.m.
Yeah, it was a heavy day. I mean, luckily, but the thing is, like, at least we called it relatively early. Do you know what I mean? Like, some of the people we were out with were out much later, and they must have been feeling much worse. Anyway, not relevant.
Shout out to Dan and Josh, by the
way. We posted on Twitter asking about anybody else's experiences who were there, and if they wanted to let us know what their experiences were like, and we would include it on the show and give them some shout outs. So I'm going to very quickly do that now. I've got 2 for you. The first one is the wonderful Paul and Harry Hanscombe, who were the lovely gentlemen who were sat to our left when we were taking a photo. And Harry leant in, gave us a little photo bomb. We clocked him. We made him take a couple of photos of us, and his dad actually replied to that Twitter video that I posted saying that he sat next to us, and he seemed really nice. They were so nice.
They rinsed me because they were like, before the game started, they had the Everton West Ham game on. Obviously, I'm an Everton fan, and they were West Ham fans, and we got beat, and they were just rinsing me and Dan Hutchinson. Yeah, but me and Dan are both Everton fans, and.
Not me, by the way, just to be clear. I'm not an Everton fan.
So, we were getting rinsed, but they were very lovely. But, that was funny. A fun way to start the
NFL and just to Paul and Harry, if you do listen to this episode, here is your shout out. It was so nice to meet you, and we hope to see you at future games in the future. That was future games in the future. That was great, great broadcasting from me there.
Castles in the sand.
And then the final one I want to shout out to was we were actually sat next to some of the people who were part of this as well, and they were actually the reason we ended up at the Beehive. Sorry, the Beehive is the second shout I want to give out to. We already did that earlier, but Beehive, you get your shout out. Great pub, great venue. You hosted a great event. It was awesome. Yeah, keep doing your thing. Finally, the last one I want to shout out is Fins Nation UK, who are a Dolphins fan club society. Mm-hmm. The event that was at the Beehive, I think, was organised by the Fins Nation, and they were sat on our right for most of the game. Yeah,
I remember that.
And what makes the Beehive bar experience for me feel even more special is that the event that they run is not just to unite Dolphins fans together before they go to games. They also want to give back to their communities. And on that Sunday, they raised £7,000 for charity because of the event they made. And I think the tweet he said, he was like, attending games and being Dolphins fans is about 5% of what we do as a community. I just thought that was a really wonderful, lovely thing that just makes our NFL world and the UK NFL fan just feel even more special. So to Fins Nation, a massive shout out to you.
Round of applause.
You were little GGs, guys. That's just really, really great work. Okay, so NFL London game experience aside, putting all that behind us, we have to press forward with what's going on now. And I guess originally when I drew up this section, it was going to be, the deadline was this week for trades, and I assumed, given all the build up to all the deadlines and all the trade rumors, Deshaun Watson and yada yada yada, I assumed that it would be more dramatic than it was, and it wasn't. So what was going to be biggest deadline news, I'm going to expand into just biggest news / deadline news in general.
Well, mine will be a quick one. So I'll do the actual, Von Miller going to the Rams.
Yeah,
big news.
It's annoying as hell for me, obviously, because I hate the Rams.
Yeah.
Sorry if you're a Rams and you're
annoying as
listening.
hell.
But you know how I feel, and it's all cool.
Yeah.
Like, one of my best friends is a Rams fan, and he lives in the around the area.
And Rams fans, think about it. If Seattle traded for Von Miller, you would be annoyed as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
like, he's been not as effective recently, but
last
then
year, he was
like
injured.
it's the Rams, so it's obviously going to work, and it's going to be annoying.
Do you want to hear an alleged reason that was included as part of his trade?
So
obviously he got traded for whatever reasons, right? And I'm not claiming to know this, right? I just have a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, and I'm trying to become one of those people that just hears stuff on the rumor mill.
You're trying to become
I'm trying to become Adam Schefter, but like I'm a good person now.
Shout out to the devil himself.
I have to use, again, I love using the word allegedly, but I really have to put this in massive quotation marks because I don't know how true this is. Apparently, Von Miller was creating quite a toxic atmosphere in the locker room around the time he was traded because he throws quite a big bash for Halloween every year, right? And it was quoted that it was a 6-figure fee for the Halloween party, right? Now, obviously, on the surface, that sounds badass, and I would love to go to a Von Miller Halloween party.
Oh, he paid that much?
That's what I thought, until it was suggested that apparently the reason the atmosphere became toxic is because Von Miller turned around to the rest of the team who attended and started asking for people to contribute to the money towards this 6-figure party that he was throwing, including rookies, people who he barely knows on the team, being like, oh, you need to chip in for my big Halloween party. And all these rookies who are on like nothing a year are like,
no,
you're Von Miller.
Yeah, I'll go, whether that was before or after the party happens, who knows? And again, whether that's true or not, I have no idea. I just heard that. I thought that was really fun. And could you imagine the Broncos being like, yeah, we need to trade Von Miller because like this whole Halloween party thing is really killing the vibe in the locker room.
I mean, I'm not saying that isn't the reason why he was traded, but that I've heard and read that there have been a few off-field things as well that are questionable. I'm not going to go into detail what they are because they, again, it's all alleged. But I imagine that that's quite a difficult thing to have in a dressing room, especially a young team like the Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos are
rebuilding. Your old veteran star defensive player, and if they're not being a role model, then what use are they? Especially if they're not performing at the same level they were, and they're expensive. I'm assuming he's expensive.
Definitely expensive.
Yeah, sorry, Nima.
No, that's all good. Also, I guess was he at the Patriots before Broncos, right? Von Miller.
No.
Was he ever at the Patriots?
No, I don't know where Von Miller was before he was at the Broncos.
For some reason in my head, I always thought he was at the Patriots.
No, he wasn't. He definitely wasn't at the Patriots.
I'm thinking someone else. He probably moved somewhere.
I can't remember where Von Miller was, but either way,
moving on.
I think for the Rams, going back to the actual thing of the trade.
Von Miller was drafted by the Broncos. He's always been.
He's always been there. Interesting.
Yeah, going back to the Rams, I think what's good about this trade for the Rams, as much as I'm not massively bothered. I'm not a Rams fan, and I am in the NFC, so I'd rather them be worse than better. And I think they are better for this, is because the Rams are a really good team at the moment. I think in terms of outside of Matt LaFleur, I think McVay having the Super Bowl experience, I think he is the best young coach in football at the moment. I think their offense is firing on all cylinders. Their defense has still been really good in most categories. And now, instead of it just being Aaron Donald...
I got that wrong.
What?
I got that wrong.
We all did. We
all
all thought that the pieces they lost were going to make a massive impact, and it seems like they haven't.
I think they're probably the best team. It pains me to say it.
Yeah, and I don't want to admit that either, because it's I don't want to face them in the playoffs if we do get there now.
It's worse that I get so much shit from my friend Scott in America. He was at the Detroit game as well, like the Rams Detroit game.
But what's a game, by the way? What a game! Unlucky as Jared Goff.
That pick just killed it. If he hadn't have thrown that pick in the end zone, then maybe we'd have
who knows? But anyway, their defense is now Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, and Von Miller. So whether Von Miller is going to be... Von Miller to the Rams feels like what JJ Watt pre-injury to the Cardinals was.
100%.
In that it just Chandler Jones was their main guy for putting pressure on people, but if you have to double mark Chandler Jones... then JJ Watt's now on single coverage, so
he can beat people.
And exactly, and you can't, you can only double one guy on the line, I think, depending on how many people you line up with. So it's if you've got Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, and you're obviously doubling Aaron Donald, you're not going to not double him, are you?
Triple him.
Yeah, exactly. So it's as from a
How does that man get so many sacks as an interior defensive lineman?
Who knows, man? He's the best player in football. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. You know, and he's crazy to watch. But yeah, I think that's a good trade.
The only thing that can beat him is Russell's booty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Green Bay really owed Russell's booty a big thank you last year.
But then he got his own back and destroyed Russ's finger. So,
but swings and roundabouts. It's all coming back round now. Do you know what I mean? As we'll get on to. So so the Von Miller to the Rams trade, that was a big deadline thing. Nima, any thoughts of the deadline?
So this wasn't a deadline day trade. This was just a pre-deadline trade. Zach Ertz to the Cardinals, I thought was a great sort of pick. I don't know off the top of my head who their tight end core is and whether they're any good, but Zach Ertz is another target.
He's the only guy in NFL history to have caught consecutive touchdowns in consecutive games for 2 different teams. I know that's not indicative of his abilities, but to turn up and to play the following week,
effective straight
and
away.
Exactly, and and in an already overpowered Cardinals offense, 100%. I think I completely agree. That was a great addition for Arizona.
Great addition on top of JJ Watt. I also have a what could have been moved because I heard a rumor about deadline day and something that a move that was on the cards but just wasn't agreed to, and this is a nice segue, I think. The move was OBJ to the Saints was on the cards.
Yes, it was, but apparently the reason that didn't happen is because the Saints were calling about a lot of wide receivers. It was just that, by the time they would, and the thing is with OBJ, if I may segue into this now.
Please, yeah, this was an intentional segue.
Is that before I get personal, the bottom line with OBJ is that he's, whether you want to admit it or not, his stats and his sort of yards and all that stuff has decreased over the last 3 or 4 years. He's more injury prone now than he was, and he's incredibly expensive. So the Browns apparently were talking about getting rid of him for anything, like a 7th round pick. Ooh. And people still said no. And to be honest, if he didn't have all the other stuff that I'm about to talk about off the field, I still would be maybe if Green Bay were really that desperate, I'd give him a go. After what he did the other day, I don't want him near any team that I support that I have anything to do with, because
what did he do the other day?
He didn't do it, but his dad tweeted a 12-minute video which was highlights of every game that OBJ's played in where he's gone open and Baker Mayfield has not thrown to him.
Missed him. Yeah, I heard
exactly.
about that. Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen Baker Mayfield's press conference about when he's asked about that, but talk about rattling your guy beyond, almost beyond repair. He looked heartbroken and he looked so hurt and he looked so upset. And also Baker Mayfield's known for not taking criticism well. And again, this is not I'm not digging at Baker here. I'm not the biggest Baker fan, but that dude is sensitive and he's good, but he needs the right mentality around him. And OBJ, in the space of 1.5 days or whatever it's been, has completely destroyed that man's confidence to the point where Kevin Stefanski has been you no longer play for us. They sent him home from practice 2 days in a row.
They're probably going to cut him.
Yeah, they are. They've already paid him the $8 million. The odds are they're going to cut him.
Yeah.
And just before I go on, I just want to say this about OBJ, that I was listening today, different pundits, yada, 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 and everyone's doing this thing that's really doing my head in, where they're like, oh, everyone says OBJ is washed, but do you remember when Randy Moss was at the Raiders and he had the, and then, one of the pundits pulled up the stats from Randy Moss's last season at the Raiders and OBJ's current season, they're like, it's not that different. You put OBJ in a different team, he's going to be electric. And I don't like speaking indefinites a lot of the time, but I'm going to speak definitely here. OBJ is done, in my opinion. I think his attitude is horrendous. I think he's too injury prone. I think he has one famous catch to his name, and I think most of what I remember about OBJ, without getting really personal in terms of off the field stuff, is a lot of temper tantrums on the sideline, not a lot of results. And what I think is the worst quality that you can have in a player, as much as it's not punished for this in the NFL, is just being about number one, about I'm all about me. If it's not working for me, then I'm going to ruin it for everybody else. And the video from his dad is a great example of that. And also, how many clips have we seen of OBJ at the end of games where the Browns have been thumped and he runs up to the quarterback and goes, "Oh yeah, come get me." What kind of attitude is that? Yeah. What kind of attitude is that? That's terrible teams play. That's just,
you mean
running up to Lamar Jackson. GG's, come get me. You got traded out of New York because you didn't want to go there. You got traded to the Browns. You didn't want to go there. So what what do you want? Like, either be great and actually be good. Like, I can't blame you for your injuries. It's not your fault. But be good, or don't be good, and just be a nice person. Also, before I forget about the videos, I don't know how many seasons his dad chose to flick through to get all those great highlights of not getting thrown to.
Yeah.
Did he include the 2 or 3 crucial 3rd and 4th down drops that he's had in recent games that cost the Browns the games? No, he didn't. So, for all good of getting open, you can't catch a pass on 3rd and 1. You can't catch a pass on 4th and 5. So don't be giving me this, I was wide open on this route. There are so many factors to every play where it's like, you could be wide open. If you're not read number 1 or read number 2, or Baker's already rolled to his left because of pressure from the O-line, what do you want him to do? Do you want him to throw it cross-body across the field? And another thing is...
You have one job. Baker's got a gazillion things to do.
And also, what I find weird is, what's the biggest criticism that Baker Mayfield has had, apart from people being like, is he the guy, is he's too Odell-centric. People have been saying he's forcing throws to him. Yeah. So don't give me this, I don't get enough attention. Baker Mayfield's been giving you too much attention. And then let's go...
Also, last season, when he was out, they actually played better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were saying, that's absolute horse crap. Like, he doesn't play better.
No,
Of course he's going to play better with
the Browns
with
are a better team.
They
when
are better
Odell's
without
not on the,
him. They
when
work
Odell's
better
not on the pitch.
as an offense. An all-round offense, they work better without OBJ.
And I think the final thing I want to say, because I've been talking about this for a while, is, and this is not really to do with the sport, but like what a dick move to just, it's so apparent how much Baker Mayfield admires OBJ. And, I've heard about their, how they spend loads of time together off the field. They've, partied together.
Really
Baker Mayfield, in the interview when he was asked about this dad video, I've had face-to-face conversations with Odell's dad. I considered him a friend. And, I think just to sort of crap on someone like that, just because you don't feel like you're being represented correctly in this team, to just compromise the most important player on that team mentally, I just think is selfish, and I wish nothing but the worst for Odell in terms of career, not anything serious. But do you know what I mean? I just hope he's done.
Whenever it gets to a point where
you make a good argument,
where families get involved in a sort of media-centric, media circus sort of way, Patrick Mahomes and his little brother, just that whole thing, and not moving on to Patrick Mahomes, and then this, OBJ and his dad, I'm just whenever parents or family get involved and weigh in on these sort of things, I'm just it's not about, it kind of takes too much focus away from teams and winning games and the important bits of
you know exactly
NFL.
That it's come from OBJ.
100%.
You don't. It's his dad who posted it, but it's definitely OBJ who's. Because OBJ's dad wouldn't have the following he has if it wasn't for OBJ.
Yeah.
And you think he's not asking? You think he's not clearing that with OBJ before he posts it?
100%.
You can't be by the way, son, I posted a 12-minute video of you not being thrown to. I hope that's all right. There's no
just
way.
Back it up. Like you said, back it up on the pitch. I've been only a fan of football for the last 2-3 years, and when I joined, I was I heard OBJ is a thing. I've seen Jack Hall.
Yeah,
from
he's an iconic player. I'm not taking that away from him. He, in terms of branding, in terms of his reach, in terms of his fans' support, following, fair enough. And yes, I think for the first 4 seasons, he did have some kind of record where he had 4 back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. But to that I say, what have you done for me lately? Have you won in the Browns any big games and big moments? No. Last time I checked, when you played the Steelers, you deliberately went for a one-handed catch where you could have made it for two-handed, and you didn't catch it on a 4th down. So...
wasn't there that thing about Peyton Manning? Someone caught one of his passes with one hand. I know this is not to do with OBJ, but Peyton Manning bollocked a receiver.
He benched him
in train. Is it in training?
No, it was in game.
It was in game.
He caught it.
He caught it. It was an amazing catch, and he went over to him and he was "Don't ever do that again. You don't ever catch with one hand again on my team. Don't, because you're compromising."
If you dive for it, if you catch it with 2 hands, because Peyton Manning's, I think his approach was catching it with one hand. If you get comfortable doing that, there's going to be a big moment in a big game where you go for it with one hand and you fail to catch it, and then we're screwed, and I'm going to blame you for that. And Peyton Manning, not literally, but verbally beat that out of his wide receivers. And so that, I'm not against one-handed catches. I think, obviously there are so many iconic one-handed catches. Randy Moss over Darrelle Revis. The OBJ catch, it was a great catch. But, at least with Randy Moss, Like, Randy Moss has an entire career of being incredible every season for season after season after season. OBJ has 4 good seasons. He went and then he took bloody like a boat trip out before the playoff game and took the whole team out, and they came back and played terribly against the Packers and got knocked out. That's his legacy to me. Like, it might not be to everybody else, but it's like, that's what I remember him for, amongst other things, which again, I'm not going to say, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And
oh yeah,
I don't want to go there, but you know what I mean.
You just
like,
reminded me about that.
It is what it is. Like, anyway,
that completely slipped my mind.
I'm going to put a pin in that there because I feel like I'm sort of I'm hitting OBJ a bit hard, but to be honest, I just think like after seeing Baker's face, I just think like that was really selfish, and the Browns are in a bit of jeopardy at the moment. And like, do I think Baker's going to be the franchise guy? I don't know, but like at least
show some respect.
He's supposed to be your mate.
Yeah,
like if
you're a team,
even if you're playing rubbish and your attitude is fine, I don't care. He's got a crap attitude and he's not really playing up to his level.
You guys know how I feel as a Seahawks fan about Pete Carroll and stuff, and it's not perfect, but his number one rule is protect the team. No one ever says anything, no matter how bad it's going, you never call out anyone on the team, and no one has ever called any, no matter how awful. We were fucking awful. Like, we've been bloody awful at the start of this season as well, getting slightly better, but you never call out the team. Like, the best coaches will drill that into their team, and the best players will listen, and if they don't listen, then they're not going to get on the best teams.
And again, it's like just like literally the last thing. I thought it was unfair that people were criticizing Baker, being like, "Oh, isn't it funny that like Baker's first relationship with like a superstar wide receiver has ended in turmoil? Brady's never had that." And I'm like, well, to be honest, like I don't think it's really Baker Mayfield's fault. Like, how can he control what that guy does off the field?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the last thing I want to do in this thing, because this is quite a big segment as well, because we can't not talk about this. Is speaking of attitude and protecting the team. My biggest news, obviously, is Aaron Rodgers getting COVID-19 and lying, allegedly, about the fact that he was vaccinated before the season started.
That was...
I'll let you guys speak on it first, because, again, I've got a few points I'm going to make, and I've been talking for a while.
I have really tried to give Aaron Rodgers time of day in the sense of a lot of pundits... Well, specifically one pundit seems to really like to kind of go for him, in my opinion, and I feel like he historically has, Colin Cowherd. And I've just been like, again, I'm new to the sport, 3 years in. Well, I was like, where's this coming from? He just seems like a bit aloof, Aaron Rodgers. Like, he doesn't seem like a negative person, a dangerous person in the sense of like team morale or attitude or anything like that. There were a few moments last season where it looked like in the middle of a game or towards the end of the game the Packers were losing, he might just kind of check out.
Yeah, he mentally does. He does do that. You can't deny that.
And that's the only other thing I kind of caught. And then aside from little off-season complaints and things that would come out, I was kind of like I don't see much. I just hear people criticizing him, but I don't necessarily see it. Now, it kind of is all piecing together for me in the sense that Aaron Rodgers is a fantastic football player. Like, don't get me wrong, he was last year's MVP. Bloody brilliant.
One of the best of all time. No questionability.
But his character and judgment for me now do not match the caliber of player he is.
See,
and that is so important.
I think he doesn't get criticised anywhere near enough by the media.
Yeah.
I actually would argue that he is so favoured by everyone.
I would agree.
Apart from maybe one or two.
Oh.
And it's... Well, we were joking about it earlier. We were saying with all this controversy surrounding Aaron Rodgers and and it also brings up the question, his future in Green Bay. I'll obviously leave that to you because you're more experienced with that sort of thing. But it's funny, I got a tweet come up, someone said, "Oh, Russ's future at Seattle is in question, in the off-season, says ESPN thing." And I'm just like, even with turmoil at other clubs, they always find a way to, on the other side of Aaron Rodgers getting praised, people with Russ, it's the opposite. So, a guy who's completely dedicated all the time and 100% of the team and never throws his teammates under the bus or never does anything selfishly, I would say, is always up for trade. So it's this media thing about Aaron Rodgers, about him the chickens have come home to roost, I think, with this. I think it's come to light how selfish he can be now, and he can't paint it in another light now.
When I said earlier about people chatting shit about him. I didn't mean he's overly criticised. It was just like, it was just generally like, I heard that and I was I couldn't quite see it yet.
And in fairness, I think the main thing with Aaron Rodgers is that, like, it depends on, and obviously, we're speaking from a sort of, we're speaking from a fan's perspective here rather than like an analytical standpoint. Yeah. It depends on who you watch, because, like, I agree, the pundits that we usually watch, I think, like, they will do a good job of convincing you that the media perceive Aaron Rodgers in a way that they actually don't. Like, Aaron Rodgers has pretty much, since he won that Super Bowl, been the media's golden boy. Can't do any wrong. The Packers are doing him wrong. I mean, look at the offseason. The whole time it was like, everyone was just like, oh my God, what a mistake. Brian Gutekunst drafting Jordan Love. Oh my God, how could you do that? He's won an MVP. Oh my God, how can you live? Like, what a stupid idea. How stupid was that? Oh, he's declined for 3 years, but he's Aaron Rodgers, blah, 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 blah. And it was like, the Packers got made to be look, they were made out to be idiots in the off season, right? And I'm not saying they're not, in terms of, like, I think it was a bit brash to take a quarterback without calling him. I'm not saying they weren't at fault and stuff like that, but, like, he certainly got made out to be the victim in that. How he chose to handle it pushed people's buttons in ways that maybe made them think otherwise as it went on. But usually they view him in a very positive light. Yeah. Speaking as a Packers fan on this issue, the main feeling I feel is disappointment. And not just in Aaron Rodgers, but in the Packers, because the main thing that is the problem here is, one, he lied straight up. He was asked directly at a press conference, are you vaccinated? He used the word immunized, and then he spoke about how he was like, it's a controversial issue and I don't judge people who don't get the vaccine. So obviously he's manipulated that dialogue to make it seem like he's on the vaccinated side and he's looking at the other unvaccinated going, hey, I don't want to cause beef and I understand everyone's got their own choices. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, what he meant by immunized was he petitioned that the NFL allowed alternative medicines or alternative approaches to vaccines to combat COVID-19 to be allowed as an appropriate form of the vaccine, to which the NFL said no. So when he still chose to go down that route, the NFL said, that's fine, we don't consider you vaccinated, and you must abide by the rules of unvaccinated players, which, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, are incredibly stringent. If you're not in the facility, you cannot meet in groups of 3 or more. You are not allowed to go to nightclubs. You're not allowed to go to bars.
You're not allowed to leave the city on a bye week.
Yeah, you're not allowed to leave the city. You're not allowed to travel. You're not allowed to do anything. And do you know what? Like, again, I'm not trying to get into the whole vaccine good, bad issue. Like, it is what it is at this point. But the NFL have set a rule. So regardless of what your opinion on it is, they've set a rule. So if you're gonna choose to go one way about it, you have to at least commit to it. And what I thought was really cowardly of Aaron Rodgers was to say that, to sort of set it up so that it felt like he was was able to do whatever he wanted. And it would have been fine if he'd then been like, right, mask on all the time, keep to myself, don't go anywhere, don't do this, don't do that. But he didn't do that. Did you know that if you are unvaccinated, when you have a press conference, you have to do it via Zoom? You're not allowed to be in a room. And not only was he in the room, he chose to be in the room without wearing a mask. And it's like,
it's selfish.
Yeah, it's really selfish in my opinion. And it's like, I remember giving Cole Beasley shit for being so outward about being anti-vax and being, and obviously, like, I will say that some of his theories around the vaccine, regardless of your stance on it, like, were ill-founded. They were incorrect, and it was conspiracy theory nonsense, and that's all I'm going to say on that. However, I respect Cole Beasley a damn sight more today for coming out and looking everybody in the face and saying, I'm not getting the vaccine for X, Y, and Z, and there's nothing you can say that's going to change my mind, than I do Aaron Rodgers standing there and telling me essentially that he is vaccinated, when really he's vaccinated in his mind. And this is sort of what leads me on to be sort of where I'm kind of getting at the end of my tether with Aaron Rodgers. I'm sick of how smart, in massive quotations, he likes to be. Because by smart, I mean aloof and sneaky. He's not that smart. Like, yeah, fine. He went to Caltech. It's an American university. I don't know. What did he study? I don't know. He's like...
Well, he started off in community college.
Yeah,
he was picked up in community college.
Like, people talk about Aaron Rodgers as if, like, he's cured cancer. And it's like...
just sorry to interrupt. I don't think the community thing is an indictment on his knowledge. No,
intelligence.
More on, like,
it was more like...
Because obviously education is expensive in America.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm not having any board of education or any form of education. It's it is what it is, and people can make the most out of any form of education that they get. What I don't like is that people talk about Aaron Rodgers being this sort of mastermind genius, when really he just does what he wants whenever he wants.
Yeah.
And I think
it's similar to like what you're saying about OBJ. It's like players who just think that they can do whatever they want, and if it doesn't go their way, then they chuck the towel in. They just say, I'm done. You're all fucked if I can't.
Yeah.
So
now what I want to sort of just quickly discuss on, because we do have to move on, because I've been talking at length, so I do apologise, boys. the problem that we face now is, outside of the moral and opinionated things that I feel about Aaron Rodgers, the fact that I'm annoyed that he lied and the fact that he's put the team at jeopardy, is one, we now miss out on him for the Chiefs game. I know they're struggling at the moment, but that's a big game. We're probably going to miss him for the Seahawks game, and from the sounds of things, Russ is going to be back for that game, so that's going to be a big game. We're also about to go on our hardest run of games of the season so far.
You've got the Rams as well.
Yeah, we've got the Rams, we've got the Ravens, we've got the Browns, we've got the Vikings, which is going to be a divisional game, we've got the Seahawks, and we've got the Chiefs. That's a horrible set of games to be potentially without him for 2 games. If the NFL go any further, he could miss 3-4 games. Imagine if it was the playoffs. If it was the playoffs, he would be out of Green Bay in a second if he'd done that. And the last thing I want to mention before we move on is the thing with the vaccine, right? And this is not an opinion of whether I think it's good or bad. From the NFL's ruling, it is the biggest tactical advantage that has ever been added to this sport in recent years. Because if you are unvaccinated and you contract COVID-19, as we've seen with Aaron Rodgers, it's a 10-day isolation period minimum. So you are at least going to miss whatever game is that week, possibly the game next week. If you are vaccinated, you can be back in as little as 48 hours, even if you have COVID.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're able to have such a tactical advantage at that point, to be like, I've contracted COVID, 2 negative tests, and I'm back in 2 days. Like, it just feels really selfish from a quarterback's perspective.
Well, they said last season as well, like, in the sense of the team that stays the healthiest with regards to COVID protocols and not having outbreaks, making sure that, distancing, they did everything they could to limit outbreaks within their teams. That would be beneficial to people having a run towards the playoffs. Yeah. Was completely true. On top of like injuries and that sort of thing, being an organisation that takes it seriously. Not that I'm not saying the Packers aren't, but
they aren't, because they let Aaron Rodgers do this. Yes, make that clear. I'm as frustrated with the Packers as a team as I am with Aaron Rodgers, because without them letting him get away with it, this wouldn't have happened. They could have been more strict with him. They knew he threw a Halloween party last weekend. He posted it on social media.
They're absolutely complicit.
Everyone in the Packers front office is at fault for this, because whether it's because of all the drama, they just wanted to give him what he wanted and let him do what he liked, which could be what it was. I don't know what the reasoning is. They are to blame for this as much as that. Well, not as much, but certainly to blame.
Yeah.
And I just think, to wrap it up, it's just I'm disappointed with Aaron Rodgers. I'm disappointed with the front office that let him do it, and I think to have such a tactical advantage by being vaccinated. If you are a tight end, a wide receiver, a defensive back, an O-lineman, or whatever, how many spots on the roster are filled up by those positions? 12? 5, 6, 7, 8? How many quarterbacks do you have? 3 at most. And how many of them are really going to be good enough to win you the Super Bowl? Probably 1 if you're lucky.
Also, even if you are unvaccinated, at least do what you can to not get COVID.
Yeah.
Don't have a party. Don't abide by the rules you're supposed to as an unvaccinated individual in the NFL. Yeah. Do something for your team that's positive and will help them win.
It's a fact. If you're unvaccinated, you're more likely to catch it.
Yeah. And to be clear, as much
am I right?
Yeah, you're completely correct.
And as much as we've shouted Aaron Rodgers, I just want to say I hope he is put in good health. I don't wish him ill health. Yeah. I don't want him to suffer from this. I just think,
because even healthy people get hit by it really hard.
And vaccinated players get COVID. I'm not disputing that. I really don't want this to be about a vaccine should not get it. I don't care. If you're not vaccinated, that's fine. Follow the NFL rules so you can be an effective part of my team. Yeah. That's the bottom line. And you've not done that, and you are the most important player on this team. And the team bent over backwards in the offseason to give you what you wanted, and you chose yourself.
Yep.
So all this stuff about you being selfish feels a little bit more realistic now. Maybe there is some truth in that. Maybe the media aren't always overhyping everything you said. Maybe you do need to have a little look at yourself and go, hey, I picked myself after going on a 7-game winning streak, and now we're probably going to, fingers crossed Jordan Love balls out. That's a separate point. I hope he's incredible, but we don't know that. Do you know what I mean? He's got 4 or 5 days to prepare. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
He's going against Patrick Mahomes. That feels like a game where Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are going to go, oh, Jordan Love's in. Yes, let's go. So yeah. Anyway, we'll wrap that up. I don't think there's any other deadline news that was of significance.
There was that one other big news, the NFL news.
What? It's not really NFL. It's NFL related. The Henry Ruggs car crash. We don't want to talk about it too much. We just want to, send our condolences to the family of the
horrible situation.
An absolute tragedy. And, I think it sounds like, the NFL have done their due diligence to cut him from the team and to sort of make it clear that kind of behaviour will not be tolerated, kind of thing, which I think has been a big problem for the NFL. They don't tend to punish people that often for that.
We'll just keep track of the legal
we just want to let you know that it's just like that was a horrible thing that happened, and it really upset all of us when we heard about the news. And to the family of the young girl, we just send you nothing but love and support, and we just hope you're doing okay.
And we hope just the legal process does what it needs to do.
Yeah,
going
absolutely.
Forward.
Okay, let's shift on.
Yes, more. Let's talk about the sport.
Yeah, let's actually talk about
the good part.
And what's ironic is that
you look like you needed to get that off.
I don't know how this is going to sound back in the thing, but I reckon it's going to sound aggressive and speedy. So for anybody who's listening up to this point, I apologise. I'm calmer now. I've got all my anger
slow
out.
Down a little bit.
I'm going to just chill out, slow down the pace of my talking. I really don't like OBJ and Aaron Rodgers at the moment. It's just a thing. I'm working through it. The next segment that I would like to do is best game, which I think suits what we've just spoken about. Something very negative. Now we're going to go into the best game that we've seen in recent weeks.
Oh, baby.
Someone else please talk about this.
Right, I'll go for this. It was Titans versus Bills for me. It was the fourth quarter comeback from ye olde Ryan Tannehill once more. Ended up, I think it was 34-31 to the Titans.
Yeah.
I just thought it was too... Well, I mean, the Titans had a slow start to the season, so it was really good to see them come up against the Bills, who were hot, coming into the game, and just not bend over, against them.
Who's he?
Bend
over? Sorry.
Sorry, you caught me off guard. I thought he was a player that I should have known or something. But there was just some really, the Titans' defense were really strong. They sacked the QB 3 times. Derrick Henry had a huge game, over 140 yards, 3 tutties, one for 76. Rip Derrick Henry. Honestly, he was an MVP candidate for me.
He was my MVP. He is my MVP.
He'll always.
I think he's done enough already to be my MVP. He's first and second in yards.
All right. Josh Allen had a great game as well. 353 yards, 3 touchdowns. It was full of little trick plays, the Billy special, as I like to call it.
Billy special. I actually didn't see all the game, so I'm assuming that's a play on the Phillies. Did Josh Allen catch a touchdown?
They went for 2.
He did that in the first season they went to the playoffs. Yeah. In the first game against the Texans. He did that as well. So that was before everyone was not quite sure about it.
Wasn't that? Oh no, that was the Chiefs Super Bowl year, wasn't it? Because was it?
I can't remember.
Because I can't remember if it was the Texans that beat the Bills. So then
was it Josh Allen's first season or his second?
No, I think it was his first. No, that was his first season because he went to the playoffs first.
Because people weren't quite sold on his arm talent and stuff at that point. They were like, he can run and stuff. He's athletic. And he's big. And
I think it was his decision making as well. It was he had that kind of I'll tell you what, he had that loose Patrick Mahomes feel.
Well, it's certainly the case this season.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I thought that was a brilliant game. Bills just about missing out on that last drive in the fourth quarter. Josh Allen going for a little diving sort of third down sort of conversion, but he was short by half a yard. And then the massive play from the Titans D lineman to stop Josh Allen from rushing it on fourth down, and he just broke the gap. Basically took out Josh Allen in the sense where Josh Allen couldn't get past him strength-wise, and his feet just kind of gave way underneath, and it was just 10 seconds to go on the clock, and they just turned it over.
I think like a lot of people tried to be like, because obviously if you watch the footage, Josh Allen did slip, but part of me, like, what I want to stress is that in my opinion, it's like, I think even if he hadn't slipped, that D lineman jumped that so perfectly, he was never getting that, because he wasn't like an inch short, he was miles short.
He wasn't even trying to jump either. Like, it was I just thought it was a really great game, because I feel like people were giving the Titans not enough. I mean, okay, maybe not enough credit. The Titans haven't looked like a playoff team until this game, in my opinion. I didn't think they looked brilliant until they beat the Bills this week. Week.
It's a shame that Henry's got injured, because it's like, if you think about since that game, they've thumped the Chiefs. Yep. They took the Colts to overtime and beat them, and the Colts, obviously I know Carson Wentz had a bad couple of plays, but like the Colts were playing well.
Just take the safety.
Yeah.
Anyway. I mean,
but that was my game. And,
great game.
Just good to see Brian Tannehill kind of keep up his record with fourth quarter comebacks.
Or Tannehill, Nathan.
I'm going to go with a couple of weeks ago. I won't speak too much about one of the sides in this game because you've got your section. But
yeehaw.
The Patriots versus the Cowboys. It was 29-35, but I'm dubbing this Mac's breakout game, I think, personally.
It was his best game.
He was 15 of 21, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And now, admittedly, the interception was sick. It was a Trevon Diggs interception. It was a pick six. He ran it into the end zone. But the thing about that interception was that the next play that Mac had with the ball, he targeted Trevon Diggs immediately with the most perfect pass in between the safety and Trevon, and it was just so perfect, and it was a touchdown.
And it
wasn't blown coverage, it wasn't anything. It was just such the perfect play that he could have called. And part of me likes to think that he did that pick six and was like, you know what, I'm gonna I know what to do to get back at him, sort of thing. I know what he's not good at, and obviously having Belichick and stuff, but that took some balls. I would say that it took some courage.
Yeah, we've said fuck a few times. So
I was being more like, Anyway, it took some courage to do, and you know what, it was great. I think it was a great game. Both teams ran the ball really well. Both teams had 100 yards rushing each, like plus 100 yards plus rushing each. CeeDee Lamb as well had 150 yards receiving. So Dak had an amazing game, but I'm not going to, obviously I'll let you do your Cowboy talk, but it was just a wicked game to watch. And you know what? Like, the time just ran out for the Patriots, like on the clock. Yeah. That's how I feel about it.
Bit of a breakout game for Mac Jones.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm dubbing it Mac's breakout.
Agreed.
So yeah, that was my game.
I'll keep mine short because it's going to seem ironic given how much shit I'm just giving Aaron Rodgers. But my best game before even 24 hours ago was the Packers-Cardinals game, because it was the
you had no receivers.
Yeah, we were missing 11 starters.
Wait, what?
Yeah, 3 of which were our starting 3 receivers.
11?
And 11
Who
starters.
Were the rest?
We were missing Zadarius Smith.
Oh my god!
We're missing Jair Alexander.
Of course,
we're also missing. I think Kevin King didn't play in that game.
I mean, he's not much.
We were missing David Bakhtiari. We were missing Josh Myers. So it's like we're missing a big chunk of our O line, all of our receiving core, and a few key pieces on defense. And as much as it annoys me, it's like that was one of the first times where I felt like, hey, this is a situation that doesn't suit Aaron Rodgers. How is he going to play? And I thought he played really well. And I thought, the running game was excellent. I thought LaFleur's coaching was fantastic. I thought it was the first time our defense felt like it was new. It had that, because obviously we had a new DC, but up until then it's been that sort of like, our defense is okay. We don't allow a 300-yard passer, but other than that, who knows? We could, we could just bleed points for whatever reason. Yeah. Whereas, we were pushing the Cardinals around for 99% of that game. I'm not so Packers biased to admit that yes. Had AJ Green, had been conscious for 5 more seconds, he they probably would have won that game. And certainly, if Hopkins hadn't gone out injured, I think we would have definitely lost that game.
Wasn't there chat that AJ Green thought it was a running play?
Yeah, and then it was the audible that he didn't hear because it looks like he's run blocking. You can see he's not thinking the ball's coming his way, and that's I'm not being like you're an idiot, but it's like it's just one of those ones. It's unlucky.
Yeah.
But I'm not too proud to admit that despite, I think the Packers deserved that win, it was a mistake away from being over.
All the best games are.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. You know,
Yeah,
it was my favorite game.
They were all very good games, I thought.
Who this? Cornerback. Now that's a good one.
No, not.
That jingle, of course, signals the start of a new section, a regular section now that we're going to do called Who's That Quarterback? We posted a video to our social media on Friday with the stats from a player from a particular game. And all you got to do is just guess who that quarterback is. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Yeah, can you read the stats out as well?
Yes, I will read the stats.
Great.
So, this quarterback, I actually haven't written his attempts down here, but I know it was over. He was like 33 of something. It was a lot of throws, big game, because he threw for 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Who was that quarterback?
One more time.
405 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Not Cooper Rush.
No, it's not.
No, it's not Cooper Rush.
Was it Mike White?
Correct. It was. It was indeed the new sensation, the potential Madden 23 cover, Mike White, in a triumphant
Why did you
way.
keep calling him that day?
Matt Smith, Mike Smith, Mike Jones. I just couldn't
White.
get his name at the time. I really, really couldn't.
I kept correcting so many times that I now have him. I have a poster of him on my wall.
Yeah. In fairness, it was his debut game, and he plays. You know, he was a 5th round draft pick for the Jets 3 years ago. You know, sorry for not knowing him by name.
Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Zach who?
Well, look, I mean, look, they're playing. You know, we're recording this on Thursday. He's playing tonight against the Colts, and I'm gonna have a look. I'm gonna stay up and just see. You know, was that a fluke, or is Zach Wilson quaking in his little Mormon boots?
There, yeah.
But yeah, you know, I mean, and like again, we won't drag on this for too long. But shout out to what was it, Mike? Mike White.
Straight away.
I just can't. It's just a name that just as soon as I hear it, just slips. It's just gone. It's white. It's just gone. I just can't remember.
It's White. I just think of Ben Stiller in Dodgeball when he's like, "That's White."
Oh man! Okay.
Right,
Love it.
Right.
Great stuff.
I can't stand it. They make me sick.
It's the worst defense in team history.
How about them Cowboys?
Welcome to your monthly Cowboy Corner, brought to you by Rootin' Tootin' Nima. Now currently wearing not only double denim, but a cowboy hat that the boys lovingly got me for my birthday.
Yeah, you do look fantastic today. I will say.
You will see this on the Instagram.
Yeah, social media. We will provide content.
Shout out to Ailey for finding the hat as well.
Yeah, true that.
shout out to
Housemate
Housemate
Ailey, she did a
Ailey.
fantastic job.
You guys,
She's part of the boys' nation.
It's somewhere between like the good, the bad, and the ugly, and Crocodile Dundee.
I
And
also feel like
I'm really here for it.
I also feel like the guy from Toy Story a little bit. Sometimes,
Yeah, fair.
but
Woody, I
How
guess.
dare you not call him by his name?
I forget.
That bloke from Toy Story.
I-
that little picture did do that well.
I never watched the second or the third one, so.
Oh man, the
Wait, is there a
second,
fourth?
the second, yeah, there's a. I didn't see the fourth.
Oh, I
The second
haven't
and third were good. I don't know why there was a fourth.
Yeah,
but- Anyway,
yeah.
irrelevant. Cowboys. It just seems to be getting better and better for you over there
honestly,
in Cowboy Corner, Nemo.
I'm fully with it now. We are what 7-1, 6-1, 6-1.
6-1. You had a bye week. So
We're
you can't,
6-1. We had the bye week, which was a bit. Okay, it wasn't quiet because Dak went off with his calf strain, which was to and fro, touch and go whether he'd be ready for the Vikings game. But going back to before the bye week, we had, as Nathan said, Cowboys versus Patriots, which was a fantastic game for the Cowboys. I think it was probably the best game we played all season. Definitely the hardest team we faced out of all the hardest.
I'd say the Bucks are probably a bigger team to play.
Bigger team, but I think it was the Bucks. I wasn't expecting to even get close.
True.
The Patriots, I think, gave us our hardest sort of. We couldn't really run that effectively against them, and I say this having run 122 yards, we've been averaging over like 150 or something. Like that was the game before we ran 200 yards.
Also, I'd certainly it wasn't as fluid a game for the Cowboys, I think, against the Patriots. Which you know, with Belichick on the other sideline, he's always going to disrupt the things that you rely on the most.
We shouldn't have won that game. Like, I mean,
it was a coin toss, wasn't it? You know, it was literally you won the toss and scored on the first play of second play of overtime.
On top of that, we had. Guess what was our third down conversion?
You were 3 of 13.
3 of 13. That's less than 30%. That's about 20.
That's indicative
20%.
of Bill's like coaching against you.
Yeah,
To say like he really not neutralized around because he still had 122 yards on the ground, but like they had 120. It was a very equal game on the ground,
100%.
and that proves that Bill knows how to scheme.
Yeah.
Also to neutralize, you know, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and is it Wilson? It's Cedric Wilson who's filling in for Michael Gallup. And then you've also got a great tight end, Dalton Schultz.
And oh my god, I forget the other guy.
It doesn't matter. It's a good receiving core to limit to 3 converted third downs.
Exactly, and we had too many penalties. We had 12 penalties for a total of 115 yards.
That's crazy.
So it was just too many.
That's a touchdown.
Too many late hits. Too many roughing the passers. I'm pretty sure it was one of our guards. I forget, Connor Williams. I'm pretty sure it was him. He had in one play, he had personal foul, roughing, and taunting, and it was just like, what are you doing? So I thought we were lucky. Dak single-handedly won us the game, I think, in the fourth quarter. Going into overtime. Kellen Moore also, I thought, schemed the offense incredibly well against Belichick.
Definitely.
To say that such a relatively young coach did so well.
See a head coaching job for
probably
him
in college. I'd say he was getting some offers last season to go back to college, and he re-signed with the Cowboys.
Maybe that's last season when you went to the playoffs on a 7 or 9 record.
Yeah.
Like you're fighting to you have the cleanest run to the number 1 seed. I think if you go number 1 seed and you don't win a Super Bowl, I have a feeling a few NFL teams will be like, "Yo, Kellen, maybe
do you want to join us?"
I would say you have probably the best offense in the league right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Even given that our O line isn't necessarily at full strength. Tyron Smith is still dodgy. Lyle Collins is still
567 total yards.
Yeah.
You've also haven't you outgained every team you've played?
We've outgained
well?
every team. Yeah, and this is still in spite of us not having a fully fit O line. CeeDee Lamb was, I think, one of the best players aside from Dak that game, and I thought his wave off at the end. I personally enjoyed that.
It's fair.
And he was rightly fined for it because obviously it was taunting. But and last but not least, I thought we were unlucky with some of the picks we threw in the end zone. We had a lot of production against the Pats, but I think the only reason we didn't outscore them earlier was good defense. Their pass rush is good. Matthew Judon, is it Matthew Judon?
Yeah, he's a middle
linebacker.
He's
had an incredible season so far since he's joined them in the off season. He's the amount of pressures he's got. I don't have the stat in front of me, but he's got lots of sacks, lots of pressures, and it showed. And that was And
also, if you think about it, and again, this is not a criticism of Dak. This is more of a sort of just so everyone knows how good Bill is at scheming defense in the red zone. Tom Brady didn't score a touchdown when he played him.
Nope.
And had the field goal not hit the post, they would have lost.
Yep.
So now, and what I will say, and I don't mind saying this, is that even though the Bucs beat the Cowboys, the Bucs are a worse team today than Dallas are, in my opinion. I'm going to try and hold my opinion on Dallas because I've got to do a power rankings in a second. So it's I don't most of my opinions about Dallas are going to come out through that. But obviously, moving on to the most recent game where, Dak didn't play and, Cooper Rush came in and, I think the main thing that Cooper Rush did was make Vikings fans go, how did Kirk Cousins
get 100+ mil?
Yeah, well, not even that. People have been saying, if you were to watch that game for the first time, the first NFL game you ever watched, you had no context on either team.
But you understood how...
Yeah, you understand the game, but you were like, one of these QBs is a starter, the other one is a backup. Who is who?
You were telling the difference.
you wouldn't be able to say, like, yes,
Honestly.
fine. Kirk Cousins' first touchdown pass, I thought, what a beautiful throw.
was
and,
great.
But Cooper Rush's game-winning touchdown pass, mwah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Literally.
Also,
the corner route to Amari Cooper in the end zone.
it was literally to kill. Yeah. Also, speaking of, did you know that that touchdown is the only time in NFL history
Yes, love
that
this.
two people who both have Cooper in their name have been part of a touchdown interaction? That's the only thing I've written down for Cowboy Cooper.
It's the first name Cooper to the surname Cooper.
Oh, right.
like
It's even
the Joy
more
Davis
specific. It's
Cooper.
even. God.
Yeah.
What a
NFL
random
stats,
stat. I
man.
love that.
They have stats for everything.
What an incredibly good start. I enjoyed that. But yeah, Vikings game, I thought, again, it shows how good our offense is in spite of the lack of Dak. Amari Cooper had 116 yards. CeeDee Lamb had over 100.
Yeah,
We had
two receivers over 100 yards.
And
Is Dak back this weekend?
I think that they are playing their cards close to their chest.
In fairness, what they can enjoy now is that I think the reason they benched Dak for that game was, one, obviously they want him for the long term.
Yeah.
So they don't want to rush anybody back who's going to get injured again and then lose him for the rest of the season. Two, they look at their schedule and go, we have a piss easy schedule. So the number one seed, regardless of how many games Dax misses, within reason, is still within our grasp.
And your division is still terrible.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you're going playoffs regardless, but also it's like Cooper Rush won his game. Yeah. So if Dak's not 100%, who are you playing this weekend?
Our next three games are not as simple as I thought. We've got the Broncos this weekend.
Okay, that's a
decent-
pretty. I think that's an easy win for Dallas.
It
in my
should
opinion,
be a win.
but-
Falcons the weekend after.
I think so too.
Then it's the Chiefs.
Yeah,
Oh,
Which be like, what?
I think that's 3 wins.
But what one about with the
It's
Chiefs?
2
I'm
wins,
not,
definitely.
I'm not the Chiefs. Anything can happen. Like anything can show up.
Your offense is going to carve the Chiefs' defense up.
We'll see how. If
yeah.
Jordan Love can carve up the Chiefs on Sunday, I would like the chances of Dallas's offense to be the same.
And then it's Raiders, Saints, Washington Giants, Washington Cardinals.
I don't think
Eagles.
I reckon they'll be all right with Cooper Rush against the Broncos. I really do.
I think if we have to keep Dak on the sideline, I wouldn't be so worried because the Broncos' offense is just a non-starter for me.
Did you say the Chiefs are next?
It is Broncos,
Falcons.
then Falcons, then
Okay,
Chiefs.
so
So
Falcons
Dak
hard.
will be back
Falcons is-
potentially. for the
it's
Chiefs.
like you're probably going to beat the Broncos. You'll definitely beat the Broncos with Dak. You probably have a good chance of beating them with Cooper Rush. Even if you don't, you
This is
fall to what, 6?
touch words.
You fall to 6-2.
Yeah.
You're well within the playoff race. You're well within the number one seed race. So
It's, a lot of hope here for the Cowboys.
Sitting pretty.
I think just to kind of round it off, it's just been very surprising to see us keep the momentum without Dak in the team, and I think I'm just excited to see where the rest of the season takes us.
Yeah, 100%. Well, as always, it's so nice to speak to our Iranian correspondent over at Jerry World, Nima.
Yes.
I hope you have a wonderful rest of the season.
I am tipping my cowboy hat to all fans across the nation.
All right, Cowboys fans, you're welcome for that, and I hope I'm sure you guys are having a great time.
Yeah.
Let's move on. So we've been doing a power rankings as of most recently the episode prior to the London special, right? That was the last time that was the first time we did a power rankings.
It was my
we
Gary's
had Gary's grandstand. I haven't dubbed the name.
You all laughed at me when I put the Bengals in there.
We did,
You
and
all
how?
laughed.
I didn't laugh.
I didn't
You
laugh.
were-
I was
shock.
surprised,
And
but I didn't laugh.
yes.
Also, you put the Raiders in there, and
look at them.
they're still doing fine despite all the turmoil they're facing.
I just wanted to say something before you go on to power rankings, because you asked me on the last episode if I thought about how I thought. You asked me about how I thought about Pete Carroll, and I just wanted to slip this in because I did say in the last episode, I'll let you know in the next episode how I'm feeling.
Oh, I forgot about this.
Yeah, so I'm just saying this. I feel like it may be time, and I don't know how Dan Garcia, who was on the show when we did it last time, I feel like it may be time to move on from Pete now. I do feel like that. I'm not saying I want him fired, but I think a gentle push out of the door would be probably what's needed at this point. Just some fresh blood and, build the team around Russell.
And to be clear, obviously I know this example doesn't make sense because McCarthy's then moved on to Dallas and is now fighting for the number one seed. However, Matt LaFleur now has the best record in NFL history in his first 40 games as a starting coach. So yeah, he's 32, he's 33-7, which is like he just surpassed Don Shula, for that.
Wow.
That's
so
wild.
Yeah, it's like,
and that man went undefeated.
yeah, and that's not to be like, oh, the Packers are brilliant, but it's just like, when McCarthy left, I wasn't sure who we were going to get, and then when we signed Matt LaFleur, I was like, who? And now I'm like, hell yeah, I love Matt LaFleur. I want him to be signed for like a 10-year Patrick Mahomes level contract where he never leaves.
I don't know who we'd get. I mean, I've heard some people say Eric Bieniemy would be quite cool, but I don't see the Chiefs letting go. I feel like he's the next successor to Andy Reid, especially with Mahomes. I'm not sure though, because the Chiefs seem like they're a mess right now. So
Also,
who
money
knows?
talks.
So yeah, and also like money talks. And if you're going to offer a head coaching position before the team you're actually with, then maybe that
100%.
would be tempting. But yeah, I just wanted to fit that in basically.
Yeah, cool.
I love Pete Carroll. I love the Super Bowl he won. I love his attitude. I love the fire he brings. But maybe his philosophy is just maybe we need a change now, and that's fine. Everything comes to an end, and I don't want to say a bad word about him. But yeah, sorry. Power rankings.
Cool. Okay, so let's get into power rankings. So I unfortunately don't have as clever a name for mine. Mine is just going to be called Power Rankings.
Treadgold's Tantrums? No.
Treadgold's Tantrums, yeah. That was probably the earlier segment where we were talking about OBJ and Aaron Rodgers.
Treadgold's 10.
Treadgold's 10. There we go.
Perfect.
Treadgold's 10. The graphics guy, Glenn Matthews, is going to love that. Okay, so we're going to do it a little bit different to how we did last time. I'm going to sort of speak, maybe not at length. I'm going to do my 10 and spend a little bit of time on each one, and then at the end we can discuss how we feel about them, whether we change it, yada yada yada. So, number 10. This is a bit of a painful one for me because I would have had them at 1 or 2 if it hadn't all kicked off earlier. But the Packers are going to be my 10 for the power rankings this month. Genuinely after the win last weekend, like I debated putting them number 1. That was where I had them in my head. I was just sort of like, they've. To win in that fashion with as stripped a team as we had, I just thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But, and bear in mind, before I carry on, my power rankings I've put in as who I think has played well and who I think is going to continue to play well, to the point where when the next episode comes out and, Nima does his power rankings, I'm trying to go with what I assume will be the similar teams that will be in yours. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think forward as much as I am thinking what they've done so far.
100%.
So yes, the Packers would be number 1, but I don't know what the status of Aaron Rodgers is going to be. He's definitely out for this game. He may be out for the next game. He could be out for who knows how long, and who knows what turmoil it's done inside. So I'm going to have to put them at 10. Sorry, Packers Nation. It just is what it is. It is what it is. Life, our luck was about to run out eventually. Okay, number 9. I don't know if this is a rogue shout or not. It felt rogue writing it down, but I don't necessarily think it is because I think you guys will agree with me. I've gone Patriots.
Slightly rogue, but I'm struggling.
Like
I'm struggling to think right now who I'd replace them with.
For me, it was a toss up between the Raiders and the Patriots for 9, because obviously the Raiders are 5-2. They have a better record. They're the top of their division. Derek Carr is playing great. However, they've had their coach, get fired and sacked. The Henry Ruggs thing is obviously going to be, that's going to be incredibly traumatic for them as well.
He was a great deep threat for them so far.
Yeah,
this
he was a big. He
will be a loss.
Certainly this season, he was a big part of their team.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they definitely are going to fail, but it feels like, funnily enough, actually going off from the Packers stuff, it was like, we could deal with the injuries, we could deal with the COVID scares, but now the Aaron Rodgers thing has come out, and now I feel like we've hit our wall where we're gonna dip a little bit, and I feel like the Raiders are overdue one of those. Whereas the Patriots came into the season with, rookie quarterback, and people were, skeptical of like, they picked him 15th. He's got a low ceiling, yada, yada, yada. But, from what I've seen, Mac Jones has gone from strength to strength to strength. I don't think the Patriots team they've put around him is as good as they thought it was going to be. And it's still playing well. I think he's looked clutch in big moments. He has... I think he's in the top 10 or the top 5 for completion percentage in all QBs, not just rookies.
He's
outperforming all the rookies comfortably
in history.
Now, admittedly, he landed in the best spot. You could argue maybe Trey Lance had an equally good spot, but the 49ers definitely not lived up to the hype.
They're also on different trajectories.
And also, I'm not a Kyle Shanahan fan, so I don't he's got a losing record in my opinion, and he's had plenty of good teams.
Lost
so
2 Super Bowls.
Yeah. Like again, like that obviously sucks, but it's like I don't see him as this like faultless coach like I would see Bill Belichick, where it's like
a lot of people give him
leeway.
praise.
But regardless, Trey Lance was as close to a situation that was good as maybe Mac Jones.
Yeah.
I like it. I like
I think Mac Jones has played well. I think this whole low ceiling thing I'm becoming more and more skeptical of because. And again, I don't like to do the Brady Mac Jones thing because obviously everybody wants to do it, and I'm not comparing the two because I don't compare anybody to Brady. I hate when people compare Rodgers to Brady because again, look at this week. Brady didn't get done for not being vaccinated and lying about it, and that's why he has 7 Super Bowls.
It's like when people compare the Rolling Stones to the Beatles.
Yeah, not even close. Not even close. It's the Beatles, by the way.
I mean, the closest Tom Brady's come to what Aaron Rodgers done is Deflategate, I guess. But
yeah, and even then, that was probably Bill's idea.
But I will say though, if we had Twitter and things and opinions and everyone's opinion and fan casts and all these things when Tom Brady was drafted, what would they have said about him?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
but also like the thing is, what people forget about Tom Brady is they look at his career now and they go Falcons Super Bowl, MVP year, undefeated year with Randy Moss. Like that was all 2007 plus. So he got drafted in what? 2000? So he had 7 years in the league where admittedly he did win 3 Super Bowls, but he won those Super Bowls with great defense, great special teams, and consistency. He didn't he didn't make mistakes. He didn't let the offense suffer because of issues that he had or mistakes that he was making. And Mac Jones feels the same.
He hasn't done.
I'm not saying he's going to be Brady. I'm just saying that to be like
this space.
Yeah, just to be like he's got a low ceiling is like, but what does a low ceiling look like? You know
the
what I mean?
mold is similar.
That's what I was saying. Like, did Brady have a low ceiling when he was drafted?
Well, I mean, he definitely because he got drafted in the 6th round.
Yeah,
as far from the scouts' perspective, they were like, yeah, he's gangly, he's slow, he's this, he's that.
Quotes was like he has none of like the sort of
tangibles.
like tangibles, not intangibles, that the physical characteristics that a QB should have in terms of like it was his throwing arm. He can throw a deep ball. Or
just his attributes as a player.
A lot of his attributes. They were like we can't see it.
Yeah, and so I wasn't Team Mac Jones. I thought he looked smug on his draft day, but you know what? He's turned up. He's beaten Cam Newton out of a job. He beat Justin Herbert in his last game. And I admit that Justin Herbert played Bill Belichick in that game, not Mac Jones. But he still had to beat Justin Herbert, who and a good Chargers team, a good coach in Brandon Staley, a team that's on the up. And I think Mac Jones deserves more credit than he's getting. And I think people are starting to notice that now. So anyway, that's Patriots number 9.
I like it.
Number 8. I begrudge this one because I hate the Saints. Sorry, Saints fans, but there is the Saints. I would have put them higher because they did just beat the Bucs, and what I will say is as much like my hatred for the Saints isn't necessarily personal. It's just because I don't know why I've just never liked the team, and after watching a documentary about the Falcons, I am a dirty bird, low key, so I can't like you. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
I can't find a reason to like the Saints,
but I
don't know why.
But what I do like, and this is the reason that I put them in there, it's Sean Payton. Fantastic coach.
Yeah.
Fantastic coach. They secretly have the best defense in the league. People are sleeping on how good that defense is. And I thought, as much as Jameis Winston is problematic, I thought he was having a good season. And the reason I can't put them any higher is because they're now without a QB. So, yes, you could argue that it feels like...
beat them, though.
What?
If we hadn't missed so many field goals, we should have beat them.
Yeah, and but it's like, the thing is, the Saints have thrashed the Packers.
Yeah.
They've beaten the Bucs, and they've beaten another big team who's escaping at the moment.
James is out for the season.
Yeah, now he's out for the season, so it's like, and yes, so Raiders fans will be going, well, why didn't you put the Raiders in? Like, we haven't lost our QB, and I admit that, I agree with that, but they just came off a tremendous win against the Bucs, and I think that one side of the ball, their defense, is better than anything, in my opinion, the Raiders have going on.
Marshawn Lattimore, he's been
Cam Jordan,
fantastic.
they're scheming, everything. They're just, their defense is actually Super Bowl ready. I just don't know who they're going to have at QB. So yeah, they have to go 8 for me. I thought it was a great win against the Bucs. Did you know? Speaking of that game, this is a good time to throw this fact in. The pick that Brady threw to kill that game in the final 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Did you know? That's the first time he's ever done that.
Throwing a pick on the final drive.
On a game-winning drive to lose it. He's never, ever done that before now.
That
crazy.
is an insane stat.
Yeah, and I bear in mind, like that I got that from a news source. I'm not making it up. I haven't triple checked that, but
That's crazy.
sue me. Like I can believe it. Brady's never thrown an interception on the final 2 minutes.
I mean, I can imagine he's thrown it like incomplete passes to lose a game. That's not to say he's never won, like never lost a game-winning drive, but.
Yeah, I'm not saying he wins. He wins every game in a drive.
I was just thinking about it in my head.
But he's never thrown it. He's never thrown an interception to kill the game. That's never happened in his career. So to go and when people were like, "What's Brady doing?" He threw it. You know, he was saying that Godwin should have come short or whatever. It's like, you know what? That's the first time he's done that in 22 years. Let's give the dude a break. And you know, I will say this: that I think Tom Brady is plugging up more holes in the Bucs than people would like to admit. I think he's on an MVP race, and I don't think that team is what it was last year. And I think he's a big reason why they're still in that contention for being a Super Bowl team, because their defense doesn't look good to me at all.
Well, their defense wasn't that great last year. They were towards the end, but like in the playoffs. But
I think teams have figured out their pass rush. Their pass rush was insane last year, and now they've had a season of dealing with it. They've probably just adjusted their game plans and whatnot. So
okay, so that was number 8. The Saints were number 8. Number 7, I'm going to honor. You know, I'm going to admit I was wrong to Nath. The Bengals are my 7th team. I know they're coming off quite a surprising loss to Mike White and the Jets. But you know, I think considering the season before, they drafted this young kid and they weren't sure he was going to be great. And the season before that, they had the number 1 pick. Like, I can't remember a time where a team in back-to-back years has had a top 5 pick and has absolutely smashed those picks out of the park. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And like, I was, for regular listeners, you knew we were skeptical of the Jamar Chase pick. We thought they should have taken Penei Sewell. We said they should have taken O-line. And we were wrong. Jamar Chase is a clear home run hit wide receiver. You know, he could be the best wide receiver in the NFL in a couple of years.
NFL ready as soon as he left college.
Yeah, absolute beast. And I just think that, like, the Bengals are not over yet. I think they're playing the Browns this weekend, I think.
That'll be a hard game.
But after all the drama in Cleveland at the moment, I think the Bengals are going to come in with their best home game plan of the season, and they're going to thrash the Browns. Sorry. I think they're going to go right back into the contention for the number 1 seed in the AFC.
It's an Ohio clash.
It is. It is. It's a big one. But yeah, I just think just massive credit to the front office of the Bengals for taking, Joe Burrow and taking, even though he was the obvious choice that year, but like, to take the risk on Jamar Chase, to presumably listen to Joe Burrow's advice of being like, I know this guy's a baller, please take him, kind of thing, and not, panic and try and protect him with O-line. Like, that's what I'd have done. I'd have played it safe, and I would have been wrong.
Joe Burrow wanted that man, and he got his man.
Yeah,
and he's been rewarded.
And they've proven it game after game. And even so, even though they lost to the Jets, it was 35-31 or whatever. Like, it was an epic game.
Everyone loses a game.
Okay, so yeah. So number 7 was the Bengals. Number 6, they were on a bye week this week or last week, but it was I have to put the Ravens in there. I feel like people are shitting on the Ravens now for their defense, and yes, their pass coverage defense is pretty poor for some reason. It might be because they blitz more than any team in the NFL. I don't know, but I'm not going to discount Lamar Jackson. I'm not going to discount their coach John Harbaugh. John, sorry, I'm not great with names, folks. I apologize. But I think Lamar. I think people are remembering the fact they got thumped by the Bengals, and yes, that was a big loss. But considering that they just, they were playing incredible up until that point, and the Bengals have obviously made a bit of a statement for themselves. And some would argue, why are the Bengals below the Ravens if they've beaten them? But I feel like the Ravens' depth of squad, even with all the injuries and I back their coach more than I back the Bengals coach. I feel like when it comes to playoff experience, if they get to the playoffs, I think the Ravens will have a better shot of making a longer run. But who knows? I just don't want people to forget about Lamar Jackson in this season. With so many good QBs now, it's easy to just look at a guy and go, oh yeah, he's not playing as good as he should have. But it's like he's playing great.
Yeah,
and I think he's gonna have a big game on Sunday.
He's wicked.
Okay. Number 5, I'm going to put the Bucs there, just because, their defense doesn't play great, but outside of the Rams, I don't really fear any team in the NFC apart from the Bucs, just because of Brady. You just can't. You know, I like maybe not mid-season, but come playoffs, like, you know, I like.
Well, yes, it is get there.
If I could pick my route to the Super Bowl and pick my playoff run and realistically pick it with the teams that would actually be there, I would take any team over Tom Brady in the playoffs.
He was a wild card last year.
Yeah.
And they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Any team.
That's insane.
He's a different man when he gets to the playoffs. He can do things that other teams can't, and I just can't not
You can't
include
discount
them.
experience.
You know, and yes, they lost to the Saints, but like Brady and the Bucs they haven't beaten the Saints in the regular season.
The Saints just have the number. So.
Yeah, and Sean, but not in the playoffs, not when it matters. Yep. Like, do you know what I mean? It's one of those ones where it's sort of like, yeah, fine, you're 3. Like people like the Saints were, we're 3-0 against Brady in the season. It's like, yeah, you played them in the playoffs and lost. So like, don't like, do you know what I mean? Like, don't like, and yeah, fine, the defense had 3 picks, but it's like you had Drew Brees then.
Yeah,
like, you know, it was Hall of Fame QB versus Hall of Fame QB. Like, you know, I trust Brady over any player on the Saints to make a bigger thing for the Super Bowl. So they're at 5. Number 4 has to be the Cardinals. You know, I know they lost, but they're 7-1. Kyler Murray's a clear MVP candidate.
Yeah,
I think their depth of squad is fantastic. DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, Zach Ertz. Their running game has been pretty good. Mm-hmm. You know, I know JJ Watt's out for the season, which is going to be a hindrance, but like, you know, Chandler Jones, Byron Murphy.
He's always injured though.
JJ Watt's out for the season.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I missed this completely. What's he got?
But that was pre.
Too busy focusing on the Cowboys.
That was pre-Packers game.
What was his injury?
I don't know. It was like they were like, he's out for the Packers game, and then while I was watching that game, they were like, oh, just so everyone knows, JJ Watt is out for the season now.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's a big L. It's a big L.
Why?
But you know, I still think that you know, Kyler Murray looks fantastic. Obviously, he's injured now, and this is the reason I didn't put them higher, because I know people are sort of like bailing on the
shoulder,
Cardinals.
It was JJ Watt's shoulder, and he had surgery on it, and that's why he's out for the season.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Now, yeah, it's a big loss on defense, but like if it was Chandler Jones, I would have pushed them down further, because Chandler Jones is still their main pass rushing threat, and he's still fine. So, you know, if Kyler Murray can stay fit, I think they have a great chance of making a good run in the playoffs. I know they're 7-1. I still feel like it's more Kyler Murray than it is Cliff Kingsbury. I know I'm very down on Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know why I can't say that name right now. Kings Cliffbury. And yeah, I just, you know, and the team in 3rd, they've already beaten, and I know that it doesn't make any sense, but there's just, you know, I just go on what I feel. And I think after watching the Packers play the Cardinals, where we basically put a B team out and we completely neutralized the Cardinals both offensively and defensively, that to me screams the coach isn't good enough to do more than get them to the playoffs. Matt LaFleur outcoached Cliff Kingsbury with a B team. And yes, fine, there was the whole throw, they could have won it, yada yada yada. But like, you should have put that game to bed. The Cardinals, it was at Arizona. You should have walked in and just walked through us with the team that we had out there, and you didn't. And that to me is a coaching issue.
You were undefeated.
Yeah. And it was at home. It was at home.
They were undefeated.
So that to me is a Cliff Kingsbury thing. It's not a Kyler Murray thing. And I think that's how I'm always going to feel about the Cardinals until they either prove me wrong or change the coach.
How are you feeling about Kyler's injury?
Unsurprised. I think, you know, he's a mobile QB. I think.
Is it ribs?
It's. I don't know what his injury is. I think it might be his ankle or something.
I assumed it was from a hit or something.
No, I think it might be an ankle injury. I mean, we probably should have researched that, to be honest. But whatever it is, like, you know, I think they'll still be fine. I think they'll still deliver. I just think that they're not going to go as far as they want to.
You're right, by the way. It's a medial ankle sprain.
There we go. So, always got my finger on the pulse of football. Right. Anyway, the reason they're 4th is because at number 3. I have the Rams.
2 teams from the NFC
West. But how could you not? You know, the reason I put them above the Cardinals, I think they're going to win the NFC West. They are actually currently my NFC pick to represent the Super Bowl. Right today, that opinion may change. Mm-hmm. I think outside of Dallas, they have everything about their team I like. Great O-line, competent running game, great QB who's having his career year. Good wide receiver talent. Cooper Kupp's having a phenomenal season, and they've just improved an already great defense, who I think are like first in sacks. They're like 5th or 6th in yards. Like, they just have everything that I think is just like, it just feels like it's all kind of gelling together now for the Rams.
Losing
Do you know what I mean?
their DC hasn't hit him as hard as I thought it would.
Losing anything they've lost hasn't hit them as hard as we thought.
Ever.
They're thumping teams every other week.
Yeah.
Now, fine, they're thumping people like the Texans, but they're still thumping them.
Yeah.
So they scare me to a point where it's just sort of like, right now, if the Bucs get more injured, I would probably pick them over the Rams in the playoffs, maybe, but I don't know. But the Rams just kind of scare me, and I just think they're a fantastic team. And I think Sean McVay, he just coaches the way he plays. It just seems like they can, if you can beat them, they get beat. That's the one thing I will say about McVay is if what he tries doesn't work, they've lost. However, they also have the flip side of like, if they have a lead at halftime, it's over.
Yeah.
Right now, it's over. They're 40+0 when leading at halftime. It's mental, that stat. Like,
it's insane.
On the flip side of that, though, Matt LaFleur is 35-1 when leading at halftime. Which I didn't realize. I'm not saying it's as good. I'm just saying I didn't know that, and that surprised me.
Equally as impressive.
And then number two has to be the Bills. I know that.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you're reading ahead. Let me let me get there. So the Bills, I would have put number one. However, Josh Allen's been inconsistent, I think, this season. I think, yes, they've pulled out big wins and they've thumped teams, but like, I watched the Dolphins-Bills game, and I think they ended up winning that by 20 points, but I was like, for a half or 2/3 of that game, I was like, how are you not winning this?
Yeah.
How is this not over? Like, how is Tua getting these chances? Like, I really like Tua, but like, how are the Bills not just putting this game to bed in the first quarter like they did at the start of the season? And I worry about that in the playoffs, because it's like, in the regular season, fine, it's easy to come back and throw 20 points away. In the playoffs, you can make a mistake and then lose a game like that.
Yeah.
Nathan, you have something to say?
Yeah, it was just going back to you talking about LaFleur and Sean McVay leading at halftime. I just needed to check something, because I did read something the other day, and I was gonna put it in before. But just going back to it, Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson are 56-0 when leading by more than 4 points at halftime.
Oh wow, fair play. That's a hell of a stat.
That's insane.
But
that's a lot of games.
We never lead at halftime because we always win the game in the last quarter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I mean, that means a third of you. Because like, how many games has Pete Carroll won with like Russell Wilson? Like, it's like 100. He's in the 150s, isn't he?
I think it's 100. I think it was 100 last season and something.
So collectively they've. Oh yeah, because Russell was the fastest.
I don't know actually.
He was the fastest to 100 wins.
It was 100 wins a season actually. Yeah, it was a couple of games ago.
So, but that means they haven't played 100 games. They've probably played 150 to 300 games or whatever across those times. But that means that 50, over half of those wins you've had from being at halftime, because you can't be 56-0 without having played 56 games.
I'm sorry that I brought it back to the Seahawks.
No, that's fine.
This is the only joy I can find.
That's a good stat, though. I didn't know that. Also, it does diminish McVay a little bit, to be fair, because people talk about it. I assumed McVay was the only guy who's ever done that. But LaFleur 35-1. Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson 56-0 when leading by at least 4 points. Do you know what I mean?
Which isn't like a huge amount either. Like, it's the difference between 4 and 1 is negligible.
Negligible was the word I was going to use. Anyway, quickly back to the Bills. The reason they're number two is because they almost have the most. What's the word I've used here? They almost have the complete team that I feel is Super Bowl ready. Great quarterback. Their running game has improved. They've got great wide receivers. Their pass rush they improved in the offseason, and their secondary is great. And I think
they're quiet as a team.
And they're quiet. No noise, no nothing.
Yeah.
Like
they just go about their business. They're, like you said, they're complete. They're almost not. I don't want to say boring's the wrong word, but they just don't. There's no hype. With hype, obviously, comes like the down stage. When you get too overhyped, you then come crashing down. There's none of that. It's just they're going about this thing. But then again, this is a franchise that have been to 4 consecutive Super Bowls and lost. So I think they just want to keep about their business.
They know what hype feels like. Also, if this is a weird request, if any Bills fan who was alive during the 90s when they went to 4 Super Bowls in a row and lost all 4, if you ever hear this show, please reach out to us. I want to know. I don't want to know what that feels like in a sort of mocking, I want to humiliate you kind of way.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine what that must feel like to be Super Bowl number 4 and just be like, were you even excited at that point? Or were you just like, oh my God, I can't take it if we lose another one?
I would love to know what.
I just want to know, what was that period of time like? Because you lost to the Cowboys, you lost to the Giants, I think. You lost to the Broncos twice, I think.
That's wild.
It's to 4 Super Bowls in a row. I mean, people talk about the Super Bowl hangover of going to 1 and then losing the next.
Yeah.
It's like they went to 4 in a row. Like, no wonder they haven't been back. Talk about Super Bowl hangover, 20, 30 years.
That is wild, but not as wild as what I think is about to come.
Yes, Nima, you have confirmed the inevitable. My number 1 team in what did we say? Treadgold's Tears or Treadgold's 10?
And yours, Stephen A. Smith also did the same thing.
Look,
I can't stand it.
Look,
That's why I'm wearing this hat.
It has to be Dallas. It has to be Dallas, and this is why. Going off the idea of what I said about the Bills being they're almost the perfect, most complete team. The reason they're not is because Dallas is because they, QB, Dak Prescott is this season outside of injuries is making an MVP run. Zeke and Tony Pollard. Great running back duo. Zeke clearly back to form. No better than that huge third down play against the Vikings where he was caught short.
Agreed.
5 yards short by 4 guys, and he got the first down that ended that game.
Yeah.
Great wide receiving core. Great offensive coordinator. And you've got a good consistent defense who makes plays. You have that playmaking cornerback that just gets those picks, those game changing picks. There just isn't anything about Dallas that I don't like at the moment, and it's just like, and I think considering their schedule,
I need to take a breath over here.
But the only thing you don't like is the Cowboys.
Yeah. The only thing is I don't like is the fact that I'm saying all this, but like
you have to take a shower after.
Yeah, but I can't deny what I've seen, and I think the Vikings win was a big one because it was it wasn't you don't need Dak and Dak's not as good as everyone says it. It's nothing to do with that. That was a team that was is so locked in and so focused right now, and the game plan and the tactics are perfect. And you went in and you beat, admittedly, a good mid-tier team. I think it was a better team. Maybe you lose that game, but you had Cooper Rush at QB, and even he turned up and balled out for 300 yards.
And he did nothing last season. He did absolutely nothing in any of the games he had to cover for Dak.
There's something different about Dallas this year, and I just think they've got the best chance of getting the number 1 seed. I think if they get the number 1 seed, they have the best chance of going to the Super Bowl because I think Dallas in the playoffs, like in your stadium, like in the NFC Championship game, that is going to be a horrible place to go and play. So yeah, that has to be the number 1 team.
I agree with you completely.
I bet you do.
We've literally got playmakers on every
position.
Randy Gregory on the D line. We've got even Odigizua has been making plays.
Micah Parsons.
What
a draft pick. I remember when you drafted him, we were like, how do you feel?
I was devastated.
You were like, my God, we need a corner. You don't need that corner.
No.
You got that corner already.
I didn't know we had that corner because Trayvon Diggs didn't really show much in his first season.
No, he did. He got injured, I think.
He got injured, but he didn't show like the same flashes.
The only thing
in
I
any
remember
sense.
of him is when DK was just strolling in and he knocked it out of his hands. That's the
That
only
was a
thing I
huge
remember.
play. Yeah,
We still won that game, so it was fine. But it
and
was
like
annoying.
we've got playmakers on every side of the ball, and weird comparison, but this is gonna make you laugh because when I first started supporting the Cowboys, you guys would always joke, haha, funny how the Man United fan has started supporting the Cowboys. It feels like Fergie United in the way we grind out results.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have won the Pats game. We shouldn't have won the Vikings game. But it feels like the sort of 1-0 against Stoke where we're playing rubbish that Fergie would have squeezed out in the 90s and 2000s.
The main difference I think this season, and I think that's a great point to touch on, is that it's not that I don't think you shouldn't have won those games. The difference is that take the Falcons-Cowboys game of last year, where yes, it was dramatic and it was a crazy game to end it.
Incredible.
In my opinion, that's a game you shouldn't have won.
Yeah.
Had the Falcons special teams ever taken an onside kick before in their life, they would have killed that game dead, and you wouldn't have the opportunity to kick the game winner.
Yeah.
Whereas what I feel like is happening now, as much as people shit on McCarthy for his clock management and his end of game whatever, is that I don't doubt the Cowboys in any situation at the moment. You're down by 3. You're down by a score. You need to get an X position by X time to win the game. It just feels like there's something about it that just everything's clicking, and it's like, fine. That third down that Zeke converted was, it took a bit of magic, but he did it. He had that magic in him. Do you know what I mean? And it just feels like everybody in your team is just got that little bit of extra juice. And until that burns out, I don't think Dallas are the underdog in any game, apart from anybody who's betting against them, because they've beaten the spread, I think, in every game they've had so far this season.
Which is insane stat as well. But I'll accept your placement of the Cowboys at the top of the pack.
That was Tread Gold's 10. It was I think I was fair, to be honest. I think I didn't include the Titans, but they've lost Eric Henry, so what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
All right, final thing. It's just MVP. It's just the updated MVP. It's nice and quick. I've only got one. I hope everyone's got one or two or less than that or whatever. Who would like to go first with their MVP choice?
You go.
If it weren't for injury, it would be between Kyler Murray and Dak for me. Because of injury, it's Bills.
Josh Allen.
Okay,
fair enough.
I'm gonna stick with Dak. I know he's missed a game, but he's played so well.
Yeah.
And I said Dak last month, and I'll just stick with it.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think it sounds like they're being extra cautious with Dak rather than he's not fit to play. And let's be honest, if he was playing, that Vikings team wouldn't have stood a chance. So that to me says MVP. Mine would have been Aaron Rodgers, but it's not now because he sucks. So
Derrick Henry as well. I was going to say Derrick Henry.
And again, actually, to be honest, scrap that. If Derrick Henry hadn't ended his season, potentially, it would have been Derrick Henry.
Say the stat that blew my mind as well.
He's
number 1 in rushing currently.
Yeah,
he's also number 2 in rushing if you
contact.
just take yards after contact.
Yeah. I've tweeted loads of stuff about him. It's
insane.
Annoyingly before that game where he got injured, they were comparing his stats, his yards per carry, and his point at this point in the season. And the only people they could compare him to were Hall of Fame running backs. If you're already at a point in your career where you can only be, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Your only comparison is
but what's the the people? It's like the people that you compare them to. It's like not colleagues. It's another word begins with a C.
Peers.
No, it's like contemporaries. For some reason, my brain's just forgotten that word. So every time I want to say it, I have to think for a couple seconds. If your only contemporaries are NFL Hall of Fame players, that says all you need to know about who you're talking about. Yeah. It's like Derrick Henry is a G. He's brought hard running football back to the NFL, and I absolutely love it. He would have been my MVP, but he's injured, and Aaron Rodgers has let the Packers down, and I can't forgive him. So my MVP is actually Tom Brady, purely because, but only because I know people smart. They go, of course, but it's like Kyler Murray's played great, but he's injured. I don't think Josh Allen has actually played that great, in my opinion. Lamar Jackson has been good, but I think there's been a great Ravens team around him. The Bucs, as I said earlier, I think their defense has been meh, and I think their running defense has been figured out. The Saints rushed for 145 yards on them, so they can't even stop the run anymore. Whereas Tom Brady's thrown, and the thing is, people say, "Oh, that game," or he cost them that game, against the Saints. What an idiot! Do you know what his stats were for that game? It's 275, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks.
That's efficient.
Yeah, he threw. He's leading the league in yards. He's leading the league in touchdowns. He's leading the league in maybe not passer rating, but he's up there in all the stats. And he's 44. He's 44 years old. He's 7 years older than the second oldest guy in the NFL. He's doing stuff that no one has ever done to the highest level. Yeah. And as we all said, if your team was facing Tom Brady in the playoffs, would you genuinely think you had a chance of winning?
No,
you wouldn't.
Absolutely not.
And he's the only quarterback left that I truly believe that. Do you know what I mean? I think even without Aaron Rodgers, I think the Packers have a chance of beating the Chiefs on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's how little I think of Patrick Mahomes at the moment. It's but I wouldn't think that against Brady. If we were playing the Bucs this weekend, I'd be like, game over. Yeah. Sorry.
The same way I thought about Cowboys week 1. I was like, it's Brady, it's Bucs, no chance.
And he rattles the QB on the other side of the ball, whether you want to admit that or not. Any QB on the other side of the field is going, oh my God, I'm playing the GOAT. Like I have to perform. So for me, he has to be an MVP vote. And I think he's carrying a team.
Not Mac Jones though.
No, not Mac Jones, who played fine against him. But but who knows? Maybe Mac Jones is the next Tom Brady. We'll have to see.
We'll see. I think that wraps up.
Yeah. I think that was certainly that was the most emotional episode of Inside the Five that I've been a part of. Yeah, I feel so much very cathartic. I feel so much better now. I've had all those rants, so I appreciate you listening to me do that, lads. But for anybody who's listened, who got this far, thank you so much. As always, if you would like to keep up to date with all the stuff that we are doing, follow us on social media at Inside the Five, the number UK, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
OnlyFans.
Yeah, OnlyFans. Yeah. If you want that, let us know. I'll maybe put a poll about that. See if we can get something going with that. Maybe it can just be like very tasteful shots of Nima in a cowboy hat and not a lot else.
I mean, there would have to be a paywall for that.
That's what OnlyFans is for.
You would have to.
You
pay.
deserve to be paid for that, Nima.
I do deserve to be. If you want to gaze upon this,
But yes, but for all of us at Inside the Five UK, thank you so much for listening. Cheers. And we hope you to hear from you in the time between now and the next episode. And have a great month. Enjoy November, December, and playoffs is right around the corner. We've only got one episode between now and the playoffs.
And we're halfway through the season officially, so
yeah,
not far off.
Take care, guys. Have a good one.
Ciao.